The first two questions you have, I am undoubtedly sure of, is does it work? Like, does it stabilize? And two, does it balance easy? So let's do the balancing bit first and deconstruct this, put it back together, take it through its paces. Then I'm going to show you some of the functions and things that it does, a couple of things that I'm not too happy about and they could improve, and what I overall think of this product. First of all, we need to deconstruct this. Oh, it's in pieces. So this is how it comes straight out of the box, and you have your tripod. It's always best to put this on first. You have three options. Choose the middle option. The other is for an arm. I don't have an arm, but the arm, when you put it on, makes it less strenuous to use. We have said gimbal. Now, just to make sure I'm not cheating, I'm actually going to reset this and then balance it so you can see how easy it does actually balance. It has these little locking mechanisms that lock each axis. So you lock it down with it facing towards you so it doesn't move. You pull that to the right, you lock it down. You do the same with this lock right here so nothing can move. You then attach the base plate to the camera, and I'm using the Nikon Z8 with a 24-70 S lens at 2.8. It's a heavy gear, it's heavy setup. It works really well on this, but when you apply the base plate, what you want to do is have the middle, the center here, over where you assume the center of gravity is over your lens. And so because this lens extends, look at this, it extends out and in, so we're going to extend it halfway, which allows for counterbalance full or to be brought in. Then we insert it by releasing this lock, bring this bracket right out here. It actually comes off if we allow it, but we're not going to just yet. We're going to push in like this, and that's going to allow the camera to be held in that position. What you want to do is you want to slide your camera along, and there's a perfect point at which it balances. But it's like a millimeter of a point, so you're just edging it along until it's about there. And then what you do is you use this locking mechanism underneath and you pull it tight, and your camera is not going to move. And it's pretty balanced, right? It's pretty balanced. We're not done just yet though. The camera is now sliding like slow. So what we want to do is we want to turn it up like this, and then we're going to alter this part of the gimbal by loosening that off and pushing this whole bar more toward me. You see it tips toward me, and before it was tipping towards so. So you want to find that sweet spot in the middle where it balances. Like so. Right, so it's balanced up now. Once it's balanced up, you lock it off underneath. You see this lock? You lock that off underneath. You tighten up this, and then you bring it back to said, and you see how it's tipping? We need to make a slight adjustment on this way again. This is all standard protocol for balancing a gimbal. So I take off my brake, and I'm just going to move it back a smidge. It's too much. See, it's the micro movements. Yep, that's good. Lock it off. So it's looking pretty good, right? I haven't even turned it on, haven't accessed the power, and we are looking pretty sweet. So I point the gimbal forward, and then what I do is I unlock this arm. Simply click that, and you go, whoa, whoa, where are we going now? So this means I need to move the camera back that way a little bit because I don't have the capacity to move this arm that way, which is what you normally might do. So I'm going to go back to this lock under here. I'm going to pull that back, and I'm going to just slide it out slightly. That feels pretty good. And then I'm going to go back slightly. Yes. And then I'm going to lock it off. When we power this up, the motors in the gimbal actually stabilize it. But if it's not balanced enough, it overpowers the engines or the motors, and therefore the gimbal has shorter battery life, or it just won't simply be balanced at all. So that was a couple of minutes of me trying to look at you and fiddle this, but that was pretty good. So what we're going to do now is just turn it on. You turn it on by the side, and you will see this sort of spring to life. Oh, look at that. Then I use this little control here to go up and down the menu. I click on motor, I go auto, and it auto tunes or calibrates where it's shaking and baking and really making sure we're looking pretty good. It just does its thing. It says it's auto tuning on the back, gives you a bit of a boop, 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 boop thing, and you're good. Just have to wait. There you go, big green tick. That's what we like to see. Now let's jump out into the field with this setup, following a subject, and I'll show you how good this actually is. How good and smooth was that footage when we pulled out the Weebil 3E and really gave it a run for its money? Now I want to show you the other unique feature of this gimbal that sets it apart from its competition, and that is that we can make this vertical, not just horizontal. What? Always make sure you turn your gimbal off before you take the camera off, otherwise it just has this, just goes nuts, just goes bonkers, okay? So always turn your gimbal off before you're gonna move any of this stuff and move the camera off or put another lens on or any of that sort of stuff. Otherwise you'll wreck the motors in the gimbal. We start by unlocking the back here. We push that lock and that allows us to slide this off the end. If I push that little button right there, it allows the camera to come off. Then, watch, I change its orientation. And see, this is the thing. And then I just slide it back in there. I know! Look at it! And then you just lock it off. And you lock it off by this funny little screw and a lever. But basically you have to screw it and then pull it out and reset the screw and then pull it tight. And once you're in that space, you're ready to rumble. So super handy when it comes to anything vertical. So a client says, we want you to do some vertical videos for our social media. You're like, I'm on it. You want to shoot some shorts and you want some stabilization that the Weebil 3E allows for, creates, generates, then, oh, how good's this? And it's simply, you just pull it off, put it back on, slight adjustment to make sure it's rebalanced, and you're good to go. Which brings me to this weight. This is how heavy this gimbal is before you put your camera body and your camera lens on it. And that really matters, because when you're carrying around a heavy gimbal, after about half an hour, 15 minutes, sometimes your muscles, not like welcome to the gun show, folks. Your muscles are just so sore and you're carrying this thing, you're like, it's burning, it's burning, it's burning. And so what they've done is they've slimmed down this to make it as lightweight as possible. Then they have the handle on the bottom, so you can hold it like this, and you can do some of these, like your kind of briefcase look, and you're shooting like that. But also they've made a handle that attaches to the bottom and comes up here. So you can actually have two arms stabilizing your gimbal, should that be an accessory you want to buy. I don't have the accessory, which is why I'm just pretending. Yeah, pretending. Let's talk about modes. This is on PF. PF means pan follow. It means it will pan from side to side, but it won't go up and down. If I click the M button again, it gives me lock. Lock means it doesn't matter what I do, woohoo, around the world, there's not going to be a problem with the camera moving. Follow means that it will follow wherever I go. So if I go left, it goes left. If I go right, it follows me right. Right? Right. Then there's a couple of other modes that you want to get into. Well, if you double press the M button, it gives you access to point of view. Point of view is like it goes anywhere. It simulates the drone footage of the point of view, so it really gives you a look at whatever you are looking at and wherever you put the camera. You can also override all of these and introduce some creativity to these by using the little joystick on the back. If we double click M again, it gives us vortex. I know. You then hold it in a horizontal position. You go menu, then you slide down to where it says vortex. When you get to vortex, you click down and you go down to start. And this is your vortex. Look at that. And it just keeps going until you press the menu button and it stops. Very nice, don't you think? They give you this USB-C cable and you can plug your camera in. You do it from behind here. There's a little plug, and you go over here and you plug it in right here, and then when you turn your camera on, you can then control, you can change your front wheel settings to change the ISO, for example. So you can change your tilt or your pan or your roll, your yaw, or you can change your ISO or your aperture from this front like wheel right here, which is super handy. See, at the moment it's on roll, so it rolls. But you might want to change it to something else. You might want to have it pan, so when you move it, it pans and comes across. Once you've turned your camera on, once you've turned the gimbal on, you've got it all plugged up, it'll come up and it'll show your aperture. It'd be really great if there was a dial here that you could just click through and you could go, oh, it's my shutter speed and that's my ISO, and then I can hold this down and I can affect those. I can't, but it does have a record button. The record button is a little unintuitive. You hold it halfway down to focus. Once you've done that, take your finger off and then you push it all the way down and it starts recording, a quarter of a second delay. And when you finish recording, you can just click that there, which I find is a much better option than trying to go up top and trying to turn your camera off, stop recording up here. It's just messy when you have to do it up here. When it's all down here, if you ever find yourself stuck up in the air, you just triple click that trigger. Aha. Woo! Selfie mode. Triple click. Back to reset. Then you can use your joystick to just fiddle around and go wherever you want with it. And wherever you end up, if you double click the trigger, it should go back to stationary, forward and balanced. Now when you strip it all back, you pack it all down, you want to carry this around, that's when you bump into another of the limitations. Now do keep in mind that if you solve this problem, you increase the price. It just feels like it needs a good bag to be carried around in. Because gimbals, they just don't know quite how to fit in. And so you have this sort of scenario, this setup right here, and that's pretty good. That's pretty good. And you can take these off, but you still have this. Now, their solution is this beautiful box. It's polystyrene, but feels like it's a bit industrial. Could be broken, but is really nice. And what happens is you just lay your gimbal in there and you get to carry it around. But what I like to do is have a fully balanced gimbal that you then just pull down and then you just slot in. So let's just see if it slots in, shall we? And it doesn't, maybe with a shove. Yeah, it doesn't. I need to pull this back a little bit. And it means more time when I got on site, that I got to rebalance it, make sure it's all spot on, rather than just pulling it out of a bag, screwing on the tripod, and boom, away we go. Now, one of the challenges I see with this setup is the menu. The menu is a little bit clunky. So the menu to operate, you press menu, and then you use this slider to go down. And when you find something you want, so you can have Bluetooth shutter, you can use a Bluetooth shutter and use this record button to do that. So you can select that. You can go and change the wheel functions, change the wheel settings, change the joystick settings. These are the wheels. This is the trigger, joystick. So you can change all of that. You can go the vortex, which we did before. You can change the trajectory, the angle. You can say default, the language settings, or go to about. But it's a little bit clunky because when you decide what you want, you then press the button and then you have, is it sensei or reverse? And you're not sure what that actually means. It's a little bit of experimentation. It'd be good if it was touchscreen. It's not, but that's why you get it at such a cheaper price than some of the other gimbals on the market. And I've used a number of them, and I prefer how easy this is. It's easier to set up. It's run and gun. You can go really quickly. It has the bare essentials that you need. It has those different modes that are super handy, and it gets the job done, and it's quite lightweight. And the battery life is fantastic. Thank you, Zhiyun, for trusting me with saying your name and introducing to the world the Weebil 3E. I'm really impressed. It's a beautiful piece of machinery. It has all the essentials that you need in a gimbal. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles, but that's great because you get the bare essentials of that which you absolutely need, will use all the time. Has a lot of flair for creativity, but it saves you on weight and price. At the end of the day, when you're just wanting a gimbal that works and does the job, this is a great investment. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for liking the video. Thanks for, just goes on, doesn't it? By now, if you hadn't already logged off, maybe I'll show you a couple of funny bloopers of, well, where it didn't quite go as planned. Thanks everyone. Bye. Base, when you apply the base plate. Adjustment. Where's my lever? Well, I was trying to find my lever. Unbalanced the gimbal.
Look. Is that working?
Okay. Don't do that. Don't do that. Oh, sorry, guys. Wow.